Hi, friends. Well, we're to the third book in our series. This is the book about Sunny the Yellow Fairy. So let me get you caught up really quick on what's happened so far. There's two girls who've gone on vacation. They're on Rainbow Island, and they're having an adventure of looking for fairies. They've been to fairyland, they've met the king and the queen, and they know that there are fairies every color of the rainbow scattered over Rainbow Island. The girls are on a mission to find them. So let's get started. This is the story of Sunny the Yellow Fairy. All right, get comfortable, get ready to go. Chop, chop, lollipop. Here we go. Sunny the Yellow Fairy, Chapter 1, A Very Big Bee. Over here, Kirsty, called Rachel Walker. Kirsty Tate ran across one of the emerald green fields that covered this part of Rainbow Island. Buttercups and daisies dotted the grass. Don't go too far, Kirsty's mom called. She and Kirsty's dad were climbing over a fence at the edge of the field. Kirsty caught up with her friend. What'd you find, Rachel? Is it another rainbow fairy? She asked hopefully. I don't know, Rachel said, standing on the bank of a rippling stream. I thought I heard something. Kirsty's face lit up. Maybe there's a fairy in the stream. Rachel nodded. She knelt down on the soft grass and put her ear close to the water. Kirsty crouched down too and listened really hard. The sun glittered on the water as it splashed over big shiny pebbles. Tiny rainbows splashed and sparkled. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. And then the girls heard a tiny, bubbly voice. Follow me, it gurgled. Follow me. Kirsty gasped. Did you hear that? Yes, said Kirsty with her eyes wide. It must be a magic stream. Rachel felt her heart beat fast. Maybe the stream will lead us to the yellow fairy, she said. Rachel and Kirsty had a special secret. They had promised the king and the queen of fairyland that they would find the lost rainbow fairies. Jack Frost's spell had hidden the rainbow fairies on Rainbow Island. Fairyland would be cold and gray until all 7 fairies had been found and returned to their home. Silver fish darted in and out of the bright green weeds at the bottom of the stream. Follow us, they whispered in their tinkling voices. Rachel and Kirsty smiled at each other. Titania, the fairy queen, had said that the magic would find them. Kirsty's parents came up from behind the girls and stopped to admire the stream too. Which way now? Asked Mr. Tate. You two seem to know where you're going. Let's go this way, Kirsty said, pointing along the bank. A brilliant bluebird flew up from its perch on a twig. Butterflies as bright as jewels fluttered among the cattails. Everything on Rainbow Island is just so beautiful, said Kirsty's mom. I'm glad we still have 5 days of our vacation left. Yeah, thought Rachel, and 5 rainbow fairies to find. Sunny, Fern, Sky, Inky, and Heather. Ruby, the red fairy, and Amber, the orange fairy, were already safe in the pot at the end of the rainbow, thanks to Rachel and Kirsty. The girls ran on ahead of Mr. and Mrs. Tate. As they followed the bubbling stream, the sun went behind a dark cloud. A chilly breeze ruffled Kirsty's hair. She noticed that some of the leaves of the trees were turning brown, even though it wasn't even autumn. Strange weather like that could only mean one thing. It looks like Jack Frost's goblins are still around, she warned Rachel. Whenever the goblins were nearby, everything turned frosty and cold. Rachel shivered. Oh, those are horrible creatures. They'll do anything to stop the rainbow fairies from getting back to fairyland. The 2 friends stared anxiously up at the sky, but just then the sun came out again and warmed their shoulders. The girls smiled with relief and continued to follow the bubbling water. The stream wound through a field covered with green clover. A herd of black and white cows were gazing at the water's edge, and they looked up with their huge brown eyes. Aren't they cute? Kirsty asked. Suddenly the cows tossed their heads and ran off towards the other side of the field. Rachel and Kirsty looked at each other in surprise. What was going on? And then they heard a loud buzzing noise. A small shape came whizzing through the air, straight towards them. Rachel jumped. It's a bee, she gasped. Run, Kirsty cried. The cows had the right idea. Rachel tore through the meadow with Kirsty right behind her, their feet pounding on the grass. Keep running, girls, called Mr. Tate, catching up to them. That bee seems like it's following us. Rachel glanced back over her shoulder. The bee was huge, bigger than any bee she'd ever seen. In here, quick, Mrs. Tate called from the side of the field. She pulled open a wooden gate. They all ran through it and then stopped to catch their breath. Hopefully they'd lost that bee for good. I wonder who lives here, Kirsty panted. They were standing in a beautiful yard. A path led to a little cottage with white roses around the door. Just then, a strange creature came out from behind some trees. It looked like an alien from outer space. Oh! Rachel and Kirsty gasped. The creature lifted its gloved hand and removed a white helmet and revealed an old woman. She smiled at them. "Sorry if I scared you," she said. "I do look a little strange in my beekeeper's suit." Rachel sighed in relief. It wasn't an alien after all. "I'm Mrs. Mary," the old woman went on. "Hello," said Rachel. "I'm Rachel. This is my friend Kirsty, and this is my mom and dad," Kirsty added. Mr. and Mrs. Tate greeted Mrs. Mary, and then Mr. Tate ducked as a huge bee zoomed past his ear. "Watch out," he said. "It's back." "Oh, that's a hiveless queen again," said Mrs. Mary. She flapped her hands at the bee. "Go on now. Shoo!" Rachel watched it swoop over a low hedge and disappear. "That bee chased us all the way here. Why would it do that?" Kirsty asked. "Oh, I don't think it was chasing you, my dear," said Mrs. Mary. "She was just heading this way because she's looking for a hive of her own, but all of my hives already have queens." "Well, thank goodness she's gone now," said Mrs. Tate. "Since you're here, would you like to try some of my honey?" Mrs. Mary said. Her blue eyes sparkled happily. "Oh, yes, please," said Rachel. The others nodded, and they all followed Mrs. Mary across the lawn to a table covered with rows of jars. Each jar was filled with rich golden honey. Rays of sunlight danced over the jars, making the honey glow. "Here you are," said Mrs. Mary, spooning some honey onto a pretty yellow plate. "Thank you," said Rachel politely. She dipped her finger into a little pool of honey and popped it into her mouth. The honey was the most delicious thing she had ever tasted. It was sweet and smooth, and then she felt that it began to tingle on her tongue. She looked over at Kirsty. "It tastes all fizzy," she whispered. Kirsty dipped her finger into the honey, too. "And look," she said. Rachel saw that the honey was twinkling with thousands of tiny golden sparkles. She grabbed Kirsty's arm. "Do you think this means—" "Yes," said Kirsty. Her eyes were shining. "Another rainbow fairy must be nearby." The next chapter will be Chapter 2, The Magic Hive.